Psychological singing. This is something that you can contemplate on in order to deepen your meditation, in order to deepen your self comprehension. And this is an aspect of our consciousness, of the way we are, that is more easily observable in other people. Like many things to do with knowing ourselves, it's always a lot easier to see in others, right? So I'll give you some examples of what this psychological singing is, or in other words, these psychological songs that we play within ourselves. You see, in terms of awakening, of knowing ourselves, we usually think of in terms of meditation, we usually think in terms of just thoughts, right? Random thoughts here and there. But a deeper reality, and a better way to describe this is that we have many songs playing within ourselves, whether they are harmonies or disharmonies. And the thing about these psychological songs is that they are an accumulation of past things within us. In other words, they are an accumulation of thoughts and feelings and judgments and beliefs, prejudices, opinions, and all of these things come together to create this sound within our psyche, within our consciousness. So thoughts are not just thoughts, but they have a whole range or spectrum of feeling within ourselves. So, I say to comprehend this psychological singing because it helps us to better integrate ourselves more deeply, or integrate our, shadow, right? Our ego. Because, a lot of the time in meditation, or when we talk about meditation, we usually think in terms of, sitting very peacefully, just listening to a nice sound. But that's not really the purpose of meditation, right? The purpose of meditation, or a big aspect of meditation, is arriving at deeper levels of being. And in order to arrive at deeper levels of being, we need to understand that we need to observe and become aware of these many layers of sounds, of inner sounds, or of psychological songs. And by observing these psychological songs and the way we are, and the songs that we play to ourselves, which determine the beliefs about ourselves, then we are better able to observe ourselves more purely, more clearly and objectively. So, the psychological song. What is a psychological song? Well, we can very much easily see it when someone is always saying the same thing about themselves. It may be about themselves, or it may be about a certain drama. Perhaps they had a certain divorce, or about another relationship, or it might be about a world drama that someone feels very angry about, or it might be about their boss at work, or someone that they are just not getting along with. Um, this is, and then this becomes a repeated psychological song. It has a certain vibration, a certain feeling, and this person keeps playing this record track in their mind, in their life, and it becomes an outer song in the way that they express themselves about this certain situation or drama. So, and then eventually, people get sick and tired of hearing the same song, right? And then maybe one day that friend tells the other person, I'm really sick and tired of you saying this same thing. And then the other person gets maybe sad or angry or offended and says, oh, you don't understand. When the reality is, the person who keeps saying that song is the one who does not understand. Or more specifically, they don't understand, they don't comprehend themselves. Because if they really comprehended themselves or comprehended this song that they keep playing, then they wouldn't sing it all the time, would they? So, in this way, the song happens to them rather than them singing the song. They are determined or they are controlled or possessed by the song. They don't know how to, turn off the song. In a way, subconsciously, they enjoy the song. And this is a form of self pity, right? So that's just one example of a psychological song. Another example would be that perhaps a person gets bullied growing up, or, certain people say certain comments, negative comments about them. And they say, you are ugly, you are useless, you are a horrible person, nobody likes you, etc. So, if the person or the victim or the person on the receiving end of that is not conscious in those moments, they turn this into a sort of self pity and they sort of believe what this person is saying. Well, if this person, this victim, is not conscious during those moments, is not observing his internal psychological state, what will he do? He will turn this into a psychological song. And especially like growing up, right? A lot of us, grow up like this. And then we have these thoughts, we have these emotions and beliefs about ourselves, and this is more called an internal psychological song, a psychological song that we don't tell others, but is within ourselves. So, no it's rare for maybe like a therapist or something or a psychologist to notice these things. This is something totally internal and only we can discover for ourselves. So this person may have certain feelings about themselves, and uh, it's good to call it a song. This is where it's effective to call it a song rather than observable logical thoughts, because they're more about a feeling within us, a perceptible intelligent feeling that we can observe if we are refined in our understanding of ourselves. And so this person can say things like, or this inner psychological song can not say but imply that I am not good enough, I'm so ugly, I'm not worthy to be loved, nobody loves me. And this can become a song, right? And it forms who that person becomes. Maybe that person likes to then listen to very sad music or likes to play on the guitar and sing very sad songs. So, I'm not saying this is wrong, but I'm saying that it is important to self comprehend ourselves and what kind of person that we are. So everyone has their own song. So, if we can stop thinking in terms of words to describe a person, think of all the people that you know in your own life and try to think of them not so much with your own judgments of descriptive words about them, but try to hear what those people sound like and the kind of life that they live and the kind of things that they say. There is a very discernible feeling, a sensation of a certain music about themselves, a psychological music or a psychic music. And so, if we live our life, and this is where these strong, especially negative psychological songs become dangerous. Because if we live our life with these strong negative psychological songs that we play to ourselves, that we have a self pity in all the time, this is when life becomes very monotonous, very boring, very depressive. It leads to depression. And because we don't have any intelligent observation of it, we are possessed by it. We don't have a space between the observer and the observed. We are just essentially on the observed side, right? So meditation is about placing ourselves in a point of observation, right? Because when we are observing, when we are the observer, then we can see the observed parts of ourselves. And that's, one point of meditation. So, yes, psychological songs are certain thoughts that come with certain feelings, whether good or bad. And they're usually memories that help us or make us feel a certain way. And so they're just like, radio stations that we tune into. And if we don't like a certain song, we change the station. And much of the time, they can be negative thoughts or negative songs and disharmonic songs. But we don't want to change the station because we're enjoying our self pity, or that we think it is a part of us, that it is part of our identity, that it makes us who we are, but it is simply a song, and we are not the song, but we are the person who is able to change the station. And on these different stations are just different narrators about different narratives of the certain song. When you turn on a real radio in real life, each song has its own narrative, right? Usually about love and romance and relationships. And similarly, a lot of people play the same songs about their own relationships and their life, or it is about, the life about themselves or the relationship with themselves, because, we love ourselves a lot. So we have these songs about ourselves and what we believe about ourselves. And, why do these songs come about in our mind? It's usually because of some kind of suffering that we, went through in the past. And then we form certain beliefs about ourselves and say, this person shouldn't have done this to me. I didn't deserve that. And we simply say this to ourselves over and over again. And we share the same thing with others over and over again. And there's even, maybe spiritual songs that we play to ourselves. Maybe we believe that we are a very enlightened, mystical, magical person. And so we don't want to go into meditation with a song, right? We want to attain inner silence, inner stillness. But if we aren't aware of these songs, then we are, not having that inner stillness. And even though you can't actually hear a song, it affects the meditation. It affects how deeply you can penetrate into yourself, because you're sitting there thinking that or reveling in or enjoying yourself, that you are a very mystical, enlightened, magical person. When if you could go beyond that belief or beyond that song, then you would be able to find a deeper stillness within yourself. And so, of course, these psychological songs, of course, they create our reality as well, right? A person who is always very angry with the world about maybe politics or science, etc. We keep playing these songs to ourselves, certain things that we maybe don't like, etc. And so we attract people in the same manner, in the same spirit. You know, people who do certain drugs, they attract people who do the same drugs. And so, what are we to do with all these songs that we keep playing within ourselves? Well, we simply want to turn them off. Yes, we want to eliminate them in order to find some inner peace, some inner stillness. And it's not that we need to turn off all the songs, but generally speaking, because we are not awakened, and because our consciousness is sleeping, we can assume that there are many, many negative, lower, limiting songs within ourselves. And so the process of turning off those songs is to simply study ourselves, to observe ourselves, to contemplate and reflect on our past, on our history, and how that has conditioned ourselves going forward, and how those certain songs about ourselves have developed and have been created over time. Perhaps there was a certain traumatic event. Perhaps we just simply have a lot of pride or opinions about a certain thing, and we just enjoy being in those songs. So, yes, this psychological song is a principle from the Gnostic teachings, and it's just a nice way to understand how certain thoughts are not just thoughts, but they combine a whole spectrum of emotion behind them. And it adds a new layer, a new dimension of self comprehension, not just on a thought based intellectual level, but a whole way of comprehension in our entire being and in our emotions, and how we feel about ourselves, the world, other people, and how that limits us, and how that forms our approach to many things, and how we lose a lot of energy. Because sometimes when we are so engrossed in certain songs about certain narratives in our life, they can become very strong and they drain a lot of energy. And that's when we become very lethargic, like a kind of weight here. We feel very tired, very sleepy. We say, "Oh, I'm exhausted." Uh, I, you know, Really, it's because we're thinking so much, and then we get headaches as well. So yes, this aspect of listening to ourselves, talk to ourselves. Uh, we say this a lot to other people, right? Look in the mirror, or have you heard yourself? Have you heard the way you sound? And we're often not aware because of our deeply entrenched identifications with our emotions to do with certain thoughts, certain songs. Okay, so yes, what is your psychological song?